fighter.
Reiki inspired. Fight. Knockout. You win.
Choose your fighter.
All right, what's going on? Shout outs to everybody here. I had to get up and put on my gear and stuff like that. I had to fire up a stream because we was doing a phone stream and my battery was low. And I guess when I got charging my phone couldn't hold the charge while the stream was going. So I had to get up and fire up a stream for you guys, man. You know, I wanted to kind of take this weekend off, but here I am again working. But had a pretty eventful week. A lot of goofiness and stuff started, popping off. But we here, man. It's Player Talk Radio. Here I am once again working. Shout outs to everybody here. Please hit the like button on the way in. Please support the show. Shout outs to Raven in the building. I don't got my equipment fully set up at my new spot, but we'll be back together in a minute. I'll be able to give you guys, y'all huge shout outs, but shout outs to everybody here, We in the building. Is Player Talk Radio. I'm laying back, chillaxing. That's what's up, man. I gotta drink some water, y'all. Please hit the like button. Please support the show. As you know, the show really needs y'all support. If you guys enjoy Player Talk Radio, you dig. What's going on, New? Yeah, man, I was just talking to Party about this. I was like, man, the older shows, not the older shows, but like the quality of the space has gone down. Um, I was watching something over the weekend and I commented on it. I'm gonna see if they'll reach back out to me. I'm gonna try to hit them up on another medium. But you know, I think what's his name? Is his name Paul Elam? Why am I forgetting the guy's name? Haven't heard his name in a while in the space, but he had a dope video. I might pull it up. He had a dope video with the It's Complicated channel, and I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. But let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see. A lot of people don't like him though, but he alright with me. Hold on. A lot of people was talking crazy. Like I said, I remember when Rolo Tomasi first got into space and started claiming Red Pill. At first he didn't claim Red Pill. He was on some, oh, those guys are losers. You know, read my book, blah blah blah. Rolo kind of started the same way like a lot of these broads start. They were talking crazy about a lot of the guys, and because they kind of came in a little bit late, but they were talking crazy about a lot of the guys, and then they realized later on that a lot of the guys, they had a fan base. A lot of the quote unquote guys that they weren't calling real men and they were calling them incels and losers, were a lot of the guys that were and would become a part of the cult following, and like, I was talking to another guy that claimed to be in the space around that time. And I was telling him, like, it's fucked up. Like, guys like me have to damn near kill myself just to get through to guys. And, the women could just come in here and just repeat everything I say. And it's like they get a cult following off the rip. They get a cult following off the rip. The bullshit that I had to go through and overcome in these spaces is very unfair. It's very unfair. I'm surprised that I still work to this day. But shout out, if you in the building, hit the like button. Come on in, hit the like button, support the show. Come on in. It's past Friday the 13th. We haven't been live in a minute. And definitely I made sure I just got up and just, did this show for y'all. You know what I'm saying? So please come on in and please hit the like button and support the show. My phone is still dead, y'all. All right, let me check the chat room. Give me 1 second. Let me see if this will come up. Shout outs to Party. Welcome back, bro. Yeah, I just had to my phone died, man. I just had to fire up. Yeah, MGTOW, man. I was telling a guy, he was like, "Oh, MGTOW was a thing in like 2010." I'm like, "Bro, MGTOW got recognized in 2010 globally, but nigga, MGTOW was back in 03 or 02. truthfully 01, you know. You had bitch niggas like Fantastic clowning me. Oh, you was here when you was in your teens and like shut your dumb ass up, nigga. You don't know shit. You just repeating all of the shit that we've been talking about. You know, you a goofy. Was it nobody really, you know, there's like only a handful of people that was really here that could really tell the story. You know? A lot of those MRA cats went red pill instead of MGTOW. A lot of people wouldn't even be able to, a lot of people didn't, and still to this day still don't understand MGTOW. I've seen a lot of so-called MGTOW brothers in these spaces resort to some dumbass shit and tricking and shit, you know. Tricking wasn't a respectful side of MGTOW. A lot of MGTOWs, they didn't even respect tricking. They didn't even want MGTOW to be associated with that shit. That's why when niggas was talking about that shit during the pandemic and stuff like that, I was like, oh no. You can't be calling yourself a MGTOW. Yeah, for sure, party. That's the goofy shit that ended up happening. Oh my god, man. Yeah, I am a victim. I'm a victim of this space, man. You said a woman picks up FL Studio or an MPC, she'll have 10K followers and a man, what? 50 niggas in her chat trying to teach her how to fucking chop a sample. All of a sudden niggas become talented, bro. Yeah, Mercury retrograde fucking me up right now. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can get this shit to work. Hold on, y'all. Oh, really? I can cloud record up to an hour? What? Give me 1 second, y'all. Alright, news says chicks will forever be champion before men. Again, it is what it is. Yeah, but I would expect men to support the man knowing that, you know? That is true. That is 1,000% true. Men going their own way didn't say they were red pill at first. That's the funny part. Yeah, they were just men. Even if they got it or they didn't get it, you know, they were just men walking away. You know, I mean, after a while, the wall of silence just turned into disinterest. You know, niggas don't know what the fuck they talking about, man. Let's go over this real quick, y'all. Please hit the like button, y'all. Please hit the Cash App. Support a real one. Let's get it.
The red pill as a sort of a terminology was created or was like, it got bounced around back in the day in the old seduction communities and the seduction forums. And we didn't even really call it red pill looking from the Matrix, right? Because I believed all of these things about like women. I've been playing by the rules. I've been playing by the old set of, you know, rule book, and I've got nothing but I'm single and sexless, and it doesn't work for me kind of thing. And I believed all this stuff. And then when men understand their own nature and they understand women's nature and they understand intersexual dynamics between the two of them, then they sort of pull themselves out of this matrix and they start putting themselves into, you know, came out of the gaming community, meaning like pickup artists and stuff of the early 2000s, which evolved.
Now, the red pill didn't come out of the gaming community. One can say the gaming community kind of evolved it, because it did with a lot of different stuff, even though it doesn't get its proper credit now. But the red pill predates the gaming community. You know? It predates the gaming community. All right? But let's get it.
Into what we call the manosphere, what we call the red pill right now.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole.
Red pill, the scales will be peeled.
They understand intersexual dynamics between the two of them. Then they sort of pull themselves out
You got your boy.
of this matrix, and they start putting themselves into, came out of the gaming community, meaning like pickup artists and stuff of the early 2000s, which evolved into what we call the manosphere, what we call the red pill right now.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And if he swallows the red pill, the scales will be peeled back from his eyes. He will see everything that he hasn't been able to see. And if he takes the blue pill, he'll just go back to sleep and live in his sort of unaware, semi-comatose state forever and probably be a lot happier. It's a pretty apt analogy.
So what is the blue pill in this world?
Well, the blue pill is the paradigm.
I think also too, like if you take the blue pill, you don't necessarily go back to sleep. You know, I think a piece of you always will wonder. You know what I'm saying? I never said that you go back to sleep. I think a piece of you will still always wonder, because to even be presented with the red pill is a blessing in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? And anybody that will also be red pill, and to be able to sit down and talk to you, because I would reckon most of the real red pill guys of yesteryear, they were alone. They didn't have the wonderful community like, you know, that we've given people in the conversations and stuff like that. They didn't have that. It's another fucked up reason why it's not cherished the way it should be. You know what I'm saying? Should be one of the most sanctified and cherished spaces. Mentioned or even recognized, So these are some pivotal times that we live in, Hold on, y'all. Yeah, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. I got fucked up in the game today. I stopped gatekeeping. Gave brothers the shit for free and got shitted on, man. Real talk. All right, give me 1 second. Real talk. Let's get it.
That most people live by, that men have all the power, that they've always had all the power, that domestic violence is a problem that's committed by men against women only, that sexual assaults are only committed by men against women, that women don't make the same money for the same work as men. Men commit domestic violence. We need to stop violence against women instead of just stopping violence. That is feminist training. My name is Paul Elam, and you can find out more about me at paulelam.com. warrenfarrell.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and all the blah, blah, blah. You reach me at any of those places.
What's the difference between Paul Elam's red pill and Rollo Tomasi's red pill?
We're coming out of the gate strong, I see. Okay. Well, let me see, how can I put this? My idea of the red pill was always about men's autonomy and independence and their personal growth outside of the realm of women. And from what I've seen of Rollo's work, I read his book, one of them anyway. I read The Rational Man. I've seen a lot of his podcasts, and his work, at least in my opinion, tends to emulate certain Machiavellian tendencies and is about manipulation, control, not things that, if you're interested in a relationship with a woman, not things that build a relationship, but things that ultimately undermine them.
Why was the original Red Pill movie all about male disposability and men's rights, but the Red Pill...
I think the better question is, why or how did women create the movie before the men? That's the better question.
Movement is all about self-improvement and dating advice.
Because the red pill movement, as we see it today, isn't red pill. It's blue pill. It's about pursuing women. It's about winning at any cost. It's about, I think, a lot of ego, a lot of grandiosity, and almost nothing about personal values, integrity, or the things that actually make a man's life better.
Why was there no mention of a high-value man during the men's rights discussions of the past?
Because Kevin Samuels didn't steal it yet. And that's a lie. There was always a mention of the high-value man, but it was in his perspective, its right perspective place. It wasn't necessarily about the man. It was about the behavior. Okay? It was about behavior. So it was more of a concept of demonstration more so than the man, because PUAs weren't the richest men on the planet, but they learned how to demonstrate high value. Things that came from quote unquote high value men. So it was more of a demonstration thing than it was more so of a actual guy thing. High value men were seeking out PUAs to learn how to behave within their tax bracket, because the behavior doesn't come with it, especially if you didn't grow up that way. Yeah, there is a flamboyantness to flashiness. 1000% correct, party. Man, you guys are cooking today, man. Give it up for yourselves, man. It's player talk. Let's go.
I think we assumed that men were high value to begin with. If you have to point somebody toward being high value, of course you're addressing a problem. And don't get me wrong, I think there's some real benefit to this stuff, to pursuing better jobs, better health, better status even. I think those things are worthwhile goals. But most of what you see today is that they're pursuing higher status, higher value in order to pursue more women. That to me defeats the purpose. If you truly value yourself, then becoming high value is its own reward in other ways outside the approval or recognition of other people, especially with men for women.
Why do you no longer work with Warren Farrell?
I wouldn't say I don't work with Warren. Warren and I are friends, and he's a dear friend. He's done a lot of great work. He's currently still pursuing a White House Council on Men and Boys. I'm skeptic about that effort myself. I think that if we get that cancel, it'll be about, you can set your watch, it'll be about 5 minutes until feminists take it over and start talking
Right.
about toxic masculinity,
About women,
because
yes.
that's what happens in the upper levels of our government. No matter whose administration it is, it just doesn't matter. So while it's, I think, a very noble idea to try to establish some sort of understanding and recognition for men, the issues that affect men and boys, I don't see our government ever having an agency that actually does that. It's more likely that they're going to run counter to those interests.
Because even the government, not just women, because feminists need men to be slaves. But who needs feminists? Who needs men to be slave way more than the feminists ever would be the government. This is why the red pill threatens the government too, because especially nowadays, we talking about men not participating in clubs and just even in just a lot of things and stuff that's going on today. Yeah, they're not going to be participating in wars and all kinds of other stuff, you know. It's kind of a double-edged sword. The reaction to the blade and the other side of the blade, that men are being feminized also. You know, a nigga don't know how to swing a sword, much less has interest in swinging swords. Pause. Let's go.
What happened to his men's liberation movement?
Well, that's a really good question. You may have stumped me a little bit on that. What did happen to it? One thing that happened to it is that they didn't turn it really political. The men's liberation movement was an extension, an offshoot of feminism. And I think there's some worthwhile stuff in that the idea was that once women were liberated,
it wasn't an offshoot of feminism, but I hate to say it, a lot of the aspects of it, even though it really wasn't, but a lot of the aspects of it was a response to some of the stuff that feminists were doing, because that actually, you know, disturbed a man's peace and really hit home. So that's somewhat true, but not the full truth.
From gender expectations, that the same would apply to men. Of course, that never happened. But the idea was there that men could be freed from the onerous financial burdens of women, that women could start carrying more of their own weight with men and taking
and it's not even necessarily that. It's from the obligations of life. A man had the right to decide what type of life he wanted to live, even if it didn't go against, even if it didn't live up or wasn't a part of the standards of what people considered men. This is why the shaming of men come from both sides, women and men.
Responsibility and the dreaded.
That's why I said, in a black pill way, gay dudes are the freest. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Gay dudes are the freest because at least at some point they drew a line in the sand and said, fuck it. This is what I'm doing. You know? Gay dudes have a bit of a, to a certain degree, how they go about it, have a bit of a freedom that, you know, that is, you know, unparalleled. Right.
Accountability, which that never happened either, and it's not going to. I think what happened was that gynocentrism battled against true men's liberation, and gynocentrism won. There's been no men's liberation except for a very small percentage, I think, of the so-called red pill community. There's a small percentage of that community.
I know, right? I gotta watch out, party. Watch out now. Watch out, man. Watch out.
Have liberated themselves. I think the MGTOW guys have done it a lot. I think the rest of it, though, date coaching and PUA and all this other stuff. It's just more gynocentrism.
Why hasn't he condemned self-improvement gurus like Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines who want men to become success objects?
My guess would be, I mean, I'm not inside Warren's head, but I know him fairly well. He's not a confrontational person. His style is very different from mine. And I think it's more in line for Warren to approach ideas than it is to explicitly condemn people. Ed, I admire that about him. I mean, that's not a criticism, but I think he hasn't condemned that lot of so-called red pill guys for the same reason he hasn't really confronted and condemned feminists. It's just not his style to be that overtly confrontational and combative.
How did we go from men's liberation to now where men are told they have a masculine burden of performance?
We've always had a masculine burden of performance. I think the men's liberation was like a little blip on the radar screen. It's just a little bump that happened. The forces of gynocentrism had their way. It crushed that sort of attitude from the beginning. I just don't think we got from one to the other. I think where we always have been at, we find different ways to express it. Old school traditionalists will talk about being a great provider and a strong man and appealing to women that way. Well, it's pretty much the same thing you hear from PUAs. Men, when you ask the question, what happened to it, the most honest, direct answer I can give you happened to it. 95% of the male population are just simps. That's the way it is. And anything you give them, red pill, blue pill, black pill, gold pill, anything that they encounter, they're going to turn it around and figure out how to please women with that.
Is men's liberation blue pill by today's standards?
Yes, it always has been. There is no, at this point, there's no men's liberation. It's
Patriarchy is blue pill. This is why feminism is a thing. And so I bet you some goofy bitch is gonna hear me say that shit and make a stupid killing off of her channel by repeating it. Please hit the like button, y'all. Please support the show. Please hit the Cash App. Please hit the PayPal. Support your boy.
Not happening. Men are still out there trying to earn more money, trying to buy nicer cars, trying to get better jobs, trying to improve themselves, all in the name of attracting women. And of course, it's why you don't hear, when you listen to tradcons, Andrew Wilson and a lot of them, you don't hear them talking about family court. You don't hear them talking about gynocentric laws and all these things. It's just sort of, man up and marry the hoe and worry about the consequences later. I even heard Tim, I've forgotten Tim's last name, recently talk about, you can meet a woman with purple hair and a nose ring, just go ahead and marry her and turn her into a Catholic. It's this absolutely bizarre sort of interpretation of the world.
That's what I said. Men are gonna follow the women. You got guys bragging about women. A lot of the women are the OGs. A lot of the women are these men's OGs. Which is fucking crazy.
And rationalization on steroids.
Does feminism benefit men in any way? And if so, how?
I'm going to get hell for this. I'm going to say yes. Feminism ultimately inspired me to become red pill. Feminism, women's demands, we want to be treated as equals, well, but special, but we want to be treated as equals. We want to make the same money. We want all these opportunities. is we want to compete in the world of men, and demand that, and we'll crush you if you don't give it to us. It did finally inspire some guys to say, well, okay, you can have that. I'm happy. Yes, get in the coal mine. Oh, you don't want the coal mine. You want the corner office without having earned it. I think that sort of behavior in women, and I mean, we're calling it feminism, but this is very female behavior. That sort of behavior is inspiring guys to walk away, along with the family courts and the rules of dating. I mean, oh my God, the dating environment, we could go on for an hour about that. It's absolutely insane. But I think it has prompted guys to rethink, what their role is, what they want their role to be with women. And now we're even having discussions on dowry coming back. Probably not going to happen anytime soon, but the fact that we're talking about it is amazing. So I think I think feminism has been helpful. It pointed out women's hypocrisy and gave men an actual visible incentive to do things differently.
If feminism frees men from traditional obligations and being a utility, why are men's rights at odds with feminism?
Well, because feminism doesn't do those things. It never did. Feminism was always about female empowerment, entitlement, and shirking accountability for personal failure. That's all feminism is. I don't care what anybody else says. I think it's great. I guess I think it's great that women vote. I don't think the outcome has been that great, but constitutionally speaking, it was a decent idea to let women vote. It's a decent idea to let women work and to earn high degrees and to explore their options in life. But feminism as a liberating force for the sexes, no, man. We've got millions of women right now with 2 kids at home, missing their mother all the time while they're sitting in a cubicle with bags under their eyes because they bought a bill of goods that's empowerment. And all I can say is, welcome to my world. It never was empowerment to be a wage slave.
Why does the manosphere spend so much time focusing on masculinity rather than misandry?
Because the manosphere is populated mostly by insecure simps trying to acquire some sort of masculinity. And they don't know how, which is why they have coaching programs and all these platforms that allege to provide men a pathway to masculinity when that's something that they'll never get by somebody else's pathway.
Does a man need to be masculine in order to have equal rights?
No, not legally, I don't think.
Does a man need to be masculine in order to have his needs met?
I think so, yes. But first he has to even understand what his needs are. And most men don't. They're inculcated in a way of thinking and living that makes them assess what women's needs are and what women want.
Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, you should know by the mic banner. The flag on the mic banner. And they've used a lot of our talking points too. I'm not gonna say they kind of been late to the party. I'm not even gonna hold you, but it is what it is.
They are generally not even allowed to talk about or think about what they actually want in life other than a woman.
Why are men more concerned with being feminized than with being demonized?
I think that's because they're feminized and they know it.
Why are men allowed to get angry when they're attacked on their race, religion, or creed, but not when they're attacked simply for being male?
They're not even allowed to get angry at getting attacked on those things. They're not even really allowed to get angry to get attacked on those things. Oh, he in Vegas. Okay, that's what's up.
Because it runs up against the feminist narrative. I mean, yes, we live in a victim-centered culture, and cultural identity, race, skin color, religion, all these things put you in a special attention special education program to garner you sympathy as a victim, but there is no sympathy. And this is why I've really tried to stress to guys over the years, if your idea of a men's movement is some sort of national mass movement, it's never, ever going to happen. It's sad. I wish it could in a way. But this society runs on women's wants and needs, and it has for 1,000 years.
Why does the manosphere recognize Nora Vincent and men having a harder life, yet we have all of these manosphere coaches telling men to embrace the very same manhood?
That's a very good question. And I think it goes back, it's a complicated story, but basically over the past few hundred years, it started 1,000 years ago, but we started an ethos, and particularly in the West, and it happens in India and other countries too, that the romantic ethos, which is that women are elevated and more important than men. And you had to have, hit me with your question again. I sort of lost my train of thought there.
And these aren't even
Why
the women
does
of
the
yesteryear.
manosphere recognize Nora Vincent and men having a harder life, yet we have all of these manosphere coaches telling men to embrace the very same manhood?
Because it's still chasing tail. I mean, that's the simplest answer, what they're telling men. And so we don't just condemn the platforms and the people doing this. They're selling what men want to buy. Men want to buy the idea that if they're more masculine, they'll get more women. It always goes back to the women. So it's an easy sell. Even though the standards and ethics of that kind of masculinity leave men vulnerable to all kinds of problems, family courts, false accusations, paternity fraud, you go down the list. That very ethic is what enables all this stuff to happen, but that's still what men want to buy. So there's plenty of guys out there who are saying, hey man, if you want to buy strychnine, I'll sell it to you.
Why is Passport Bros an acceptable solution when it comes to dating, but not when it comes to any other grievance of the average US citizen? Would a women's advocacy group tell them to leave the country rather than change laws?
It's another good question.
Yeah, but no.
I think, my answers aren't going to be that complicated. I think this goes back down to being laid. That's still the number one priority. And it's not that that's all men want. They do want other things. Men are hopelessly romantic. It's sad how romantic they are. They want families. They want mothers for their children. But first and foremost is the biological imperative to spread seeds. And so, look, I just got back from a trip to Thailand. Sexual abundance everywhere. A woman there gives you problems, you can have another one in 5 minutes. I think that's also a very, very strong attractor to the men who go there. They experience this relationship with women that is simply different than what they experience here in the West.
Just following up on that, if women can't change because of their female nature, why are we trying to change men?
Well, I think people can change. I think one of the worst problems for me right now with the manosphere as it is there's so much EvoPsych BS governing everything. They take behavioral observations that are based really on human Western behavior for the past few hundred years, not taking biology at all into account. And they point to that as evidence of that this is somehow wired genetically. And they totally refuse to recognize the cultural conditioning that comes with the and gynocentrism and everything else that's happened. So it's a very easy out to say, oh, it's just genetics. And a lot of men use that and say, well, there's nothing you can do then. You can't have a woman who will be accountable. You can't hold women to account. You can't win. I've seen guys say, you can never win an argument with a woman. And I'm like, what a pussy. What an absolute pussy. You can never win. Well, You don't need a woman.
I always make the joke, if women are always right, how do lesbians settle arguments?
Often violently. They're the most violent couples out there.
Is the goal of the men's movement to put women back into their traditional role, or to liberate men from their traditional role?
Depends on which movement. In the TradCon men's movement, yes, it is to put women in their traditional role. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's part of the objective. But there is a fairly healthy contingent of men out there that have no interest. I'm one of them. I decided 25 years ago, if a woman couldn't show up and carry her own
Hit the like button on the way in, y'all. That's sad, man. Hit the like button on the way in. Please hit the Cash App. Please hit the PayPal. Hit the like button on the way in, y'all. Please hit the Cash App. Please hit the PayPal. Help me get the show back on track. Please support the show, y'all. It's Player Talk.
Financial weight. I didn't want anything to do with her anyway. I'm not was never, well, I wouldn't say was never, but at that point in my life, when things changed for me, I wouldn't have anything to do with financial dead weight. You see this, men don't tolerate that in each other at all. If a guy won't carry his weight financially in a group of men, the group will eventually get rid of him. And the individuals in that group will get rid of him. But women that can't carry their weight, they're seen as attractive by the TradCon crowd.
How many men's advocates can you think of that don't lean traditional?
3.
So who's advocating for men that's not conservative, and isn't that a problem?
I am. I think Peter Wright is. I got to give a big shout out to him. I think Shaw does. I give a great shout out to Shaw for his work. But men who want women that are actual responsible adults and who won't settle for anything percent of the manosphere. Most of the guys there still have this idea that if I just become the fit, protective provider, that will guarantee
All right, we back. All right, please hit the like button. Please support the show. Shout at Steven Crowder. So I know, he's tired of guys like Steven Crowder and Sneeko and other guys getting credit for the manosphere. Hell, even Andrew Tate is coming in and getting credit for the manosphere. All right. Please hit the like button, y'all. I'm doing all I can to keep the show going. Please hit the like button. Please hit the Cash App. Hit the PayPal. Please support the show. Trying to get the show back on track. It's Player Talk Radio. Let's get it. Let's go.
Why didn't conservatives fight back harder against early feminism, but do now?
I don't think conservatives are fighting feminism. I think they're paying lip service to fighting feminism.
Uh-oh.
You turn on Fox News and you hear the women across the board, most of them will tell you that they're feminist. And when it boils down to it, they have feminist priorities. I mean, conservatives want to fight the left, and they recognize that feminism comes from Marxist philosophy. They get all that. But when's the last time you heard a conservative talk about repealing the 19th or reforming divorce laws? Now, there's a big one right there.
All right, I've heard a conservative say repeal the 19th. And there is a little bit of truth to this. You know what I'm saying? Now, shout outs to War Master. War Master is a conservative. And me and War Master, we've openly talked about it on the show that a lot of the trad cons and a lot of the women, you know, that are coming out and they are they fancy themselves as conservatives. They kind of get a space in the conservative space to rock. You know what I'm saying? And shout outs to War Master. War Master is like, man, Kuda, there's conservatives. No. You know, these bitches are fake. You know, these bitches are fake. Some of the most fakest women in politics are claiming to be conservatives. You know, War Master, you know, he openly talked about that. You know, and I said, man, this is interesting. You know, I really want to save this for some future content. You know, that's something that, you know, I plan on talking about in the future on the show. You know, it's just something that I put in my back pocket for a while because it's pretty interesting, you know. And a lot of guys haven't caught on to it, but it's obvious as day. You know, it's clear as day. And a lot of conservatives are going in on you know, because you know, a lot of guys, it's accepted in the conservative party. You know, and I look at it as a lot of guys that's just like, oh, well, we have, you know, we have firepower. Oh, we have, you know, oh, see, the women are agreeing with us and stuff like that, you know. I guess it looks good for optics. You know, I guess it looks good for optics. I guess that's the best way to say it. You know, but make no mistake, there are conservatives out here that talk about it in detail, you know. So I want to say shout outs to War Master, you know. Now, shout outs to New. New said America's actually too pussy to fight feminism. This is true. It really can't, because the economy, it revolves, and a lot of it is based around feminism.
The divorce laws, the family courts are as corrupt as the day is long. They're savagely ruining the lives of men, women, and children. And conservatives who are supposedly anti-feminist, and the courts are feminist institutions, they're populated by feminists. The Friends of the Court, all kinds of the other ancillary stuff are all feminist run. And you won't hear conservatives talk about that at all. So it's like, are they really? I mean, I think they're mocking feminists for some clicks. But in their actual practice, no, they're feminist.
Why has religion been injected into the men's movement, and what's the connection?
What's going on, D? Good to see you, brother. Please hit the like button on the way in. Please support the show. Shout outs to New said they haven't already said it. It was driven by mention for sure.
Action.
That's another
Please hit the Cash App, y'all. Please hit the PayPal. Please help Player Talk Radio get back on track. I got you guys. Let's go.
great question. I would have to say I think a lot of it is because
Trying to bring y'all some great
the
shows.
values of or the values of valuing men, of recognizing men's humanity, sometimes recognizing their vulnerability. They don't have the internal mechanism to fight that fight. So they lean on religion to do it for them. But again, if you go into the modern church, it's as gynocentric as it can be. All of them. I know, with all respect, I've got some great Catholic friends. I hear guys say, oh, the Catholic Church is, yes, it is. Absolutely. I have talked to many Catholic men whose wife came in, shed a few tears to the congregation, said he was a bad guy, and all of them turned on him. This is in the Catholic Church, including the clergy. So it's like, yeah, you can talk about that stuff all day long, but in practice, and I see guys when they suffer the consequences of this stuff. So I see it all the time. They are not conservative. They are feminist. Churches are feminist. Government's feminist. Everything in. And these guys, these traditional conservatives that are preaching against feminists, they're feminists too.
Why do men get so much resistance from other men when talking about men's rights?
It goes back to the brainwashing. Talking about men's rights jeopardizes, puts at risk your ability to have sex. So frightened when they hear the
weaker sex. Like, they can't resist sex. And I don't know why men, men depict themselves as not being able to go without sex. You understand what I'm saying? When in reality, women are the weaker sex. Like, if men, and I've said this so many times, giving y'all some game, if men stop bitching about sex or, what they can and can't get sexually, if men practiced a little bit more, discipline, bro, they would have women in the palm, incels would have women in the palm of their hands. And the industry, women jumping sex to sex, it all exposes all of this. Women don't know what the fuck to do without no goddamn sex. They got toys, they got all of this shit, and they still run to the internet. I never had an orgasm. Nobody pleased me. She got 50 Shades of Roses in her damn closet. She has a whole fucking porn boat in her damn closet. But nobody never her, including her damn self. Amazing. Let's go.
Truth being spoken, the truth that will upset women, and it does
Y'all
upset.
hit the like button. Support this truth. Hit the PayPal, hit the Cash App. Let's go.
And it should upset them. I mean, what's being pointed out by at least the truth-speaking elements of the red pill community is very upsetting. And women don't want to hear it. So consequently, men don't want to hear it. I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but this comes back to mating strategy, gynocentrism every time.
Why do tradcons say the sexes are different to support their narrative, while feminists say the sexes are the same to support their narrative?
Because neither of those
Good
narratives
question.
matter as long as you're putting women first.
Right.
It's it's the same thing in a different skin. Again, I don't think there is a hair's difference between a modern tradcon and a feminist. It's still women first, women only. It's all about the woman. And as long as you maintain that narrative, you can take shots at each other, but it's never going to be a real argument.
They're both gynocentric.
Yes.
If feminism disappeared tomorrow, which male problems would still exist, if any, and why?
All of them. If feminists disappeared, maybe some things would get a little better, maybe. But again, feminism is just one offshoot of gynocentrism. And you remove that, you still have the underlying gynocentrism. You're still going to have conservative judges. I can't tell you how many guys I've talked to from Texas, which is notoriously bad in family courts. Conservative judges absolutely raking them over the coals, destroying their finances, destroying the relationship with their children in order to please the woman. You get rid of feminists, and those guys will still be doing that.
Is gynocentrism purely cultural?
Yeah, I don't think the world would really change until a couple of generations after, quote unquote, feminism is gone. And like I said, men will feel sorry for women more than women will feel sorry for women. Let's go.
Cultural, biological, or evolutionary?
I think it's cultural. For the human race has been here, as far as we know, for a couple of 100,000 years. The idea of gynocentrism, the practice of it, wasn't even introduced into human society until about 1,000 years ago, and it only started really getting steam a couple of 100 years ago. It took a long time. But now the biodeterminists look at that and say, see, gynocentrism, things have always been that way. No, they haven't. They haven't been that way at all. Men used to get married with the goal being their standing in the community, their contributions to the society around them, having children. That was what was important about marriage. And women were a part of that, but they weren't the whole game. And just over the last couple of 100 years, women have become the whole game. Men find a sense of emotional completion if they find a woman that loves them. None of this other stuff plays into it.
Why can women collectively come together to smash the patriarchy while men must individually self-improve to escape the gynocentric matrix?
Because that's reality. If men want to escape the gynocentric matrix, if they truly want to, they do have to improve themselves. Women come together to smash the patriarchy. They come together to protect criminal illegals that are in the country. They come together to abort babies. Women come together over anything that pleases them at the moment. If men want to break free of that, they do have to change their thinking. They have to change their attitude about themselves. They have to change their attitude about women.
Does male disposability still make sense in a modern society?
I think so, in some ways. But I don't know if I would frame it exactly as male disposability. We still have 99% combat troops are men for a reason.
I was about to say war.
Women are a distraction in that way. They get in the way and ultimately cost more men's lives. So one way of looking at keeping certain professions, certain combat ready units all male is for the fact that we don't want them to be disposable. We want them to operate with efficiency.
Does feminism reduce or increase gynocentrism?
I think it's an offshoot of it. It's an expression of it, and it certainly gave it political muscle that it didn't have before. It did have political muscle, but the degree of it from feminism has enhanced that a lot. So I wouldn't say it actually enhanced gynocentrism. I think it just become another expression of it.
I think it would be at least 3 or 4 generations, but I think that's still the same amount of time for it to ramp back up, you know.
Does the manosphere psychologically benefit from believing in gynocentrism?
I think individual men can certainly benefit. When I see what the average manospherian does with gynocentrism, though, it's hard to imagine it benefiting anybody, because what most of the manosphere does with gynocentrism is practice it. They're not combating it.
Why are there fathers' rights groups who don't fight for other men's issues? Doesn't everything that affects men's rights also affect fathers' rights?
Sure, but I think what you get is fathers' rights groups are comprised of men who have been divorce raped, who have been through hell in family courts, and they want to fight for those rights. But the moment they get
men don't feel that they should fight for those rights until they get put through a level of hell in family court. And a fucked up thing about quote unquote justice or injustice is that most people feel that, oh, well, if it doesn't happen to them, that eventually it won't happen to them. You know what I'm saying? You know, they don't care about it until it happens to them. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, King Picks? Shout outs to everybody in the building. Please hit the like button on the way in. Please, to keep the show going, please support the show via Cash App, via PayPal. I got to get the show back on track this week, and I want to bring you guys a lot of content. So please show your support by hitting the Cash App and by hitting the PayPal. All right, let's keep it going.
Confronted with the fact that to really fight for that stuff, you're going to have to go after gynocentrism. They still want to attract women. They still want to have that image with them. And so, and I've talked to several of those groups. I talked to a group in Texas, and I've talked to other groups that were fathers' rights groups. And I got a lot of stuff like, well, we want to choose our battles carefully. And it's like, in other words, you really don't want to do the battle. You want your kid back, and I get that. Believe me, I do. But these guys, for the most part, they're not interested in fighting the core of the problem, and they will fight tooth and nail to keep from recognizing it in most cases.
When discussing MGTOW versus men's rights, would going MGTOW actually change anything if 80% of men are already invisible to...
And a lot of MRAs went MGTOW. It took them a while to do it, but a lot of them started claiming red pill and MGTOW. Let's go.
Women?
It would change the right things, I think. I'm a big supporter of MGTOW. I think that is... These are actually men who are doing something about the problem. They're withdrawing and attending to their own lives, which is what men mostly refuse to do. We're wired most of the time like hunting women and thinking about how to attract them and how do we acquire one, how do we keep her. That's where you get the dating coaches and all this other stuff. The MGTOW are just saying, I'm done. See you later. I'm going to go take care of my own life. And I think a lot of those guys will come back to women at some point, to dating or to even long-term relationships. But they're not going to be the same guy they were before. That's important.
Why would tradcons, red pillars, and feminists all feel so threatened by MGTOW if it didn't have any effect? Could it be because they all benefit from exploiting male loneliness?
I think that's an astute observation. They do benefit from exploiting male loneliness. Only we hear a lot of talk these days about a male loneliness crisis. I talk to MGTOW guys all the time. They're not lonely, not even close. They're having a blast with their lives. I think that's what upsets the tradcons and the feminists and a lot of the red pillars, is that MGTOW are out there actually doing this deal and living fulfilling lives. They may or may not come to the world of women again at some point, but they're not being controlled by anybody.
Right.
It's a very good point. MGTOW upsets these people because they're actually taking care of themselves. And tradcons don't want men to take care of themselves. Feminists don't want men to take care of themselves. And most of the red pill community is still focused on getting women.
I consider it men's liberation on an individual level.
Absolutely. On an individual, actually now having a society-wide impact. Again, what some people frame as a loneliness epidemic, I call an epidemic of withdrawal.
How do you respond to people who think that male loneliness is just natural selection?
Now, with all of this technology and going on in today's world, women are actually having the biggest loneliness epidemic. Women are having a huge that nobody wants to talk about. And the people like myself that's talking about it, we can barely get the support they need. Women have the biggest going on. Let's go.
I don't buy it. There have been scores of single men, bachelors, who have lived incredible, fulfilling lives throughout history. I think this is sour grapes talking. The men walked away, excuse me, and the feminists and the tradcons said, we're just going to shame you on the way out because we can't handle the fact that you're doing the right thing.
This is so true.
Why has the Red Pill movement replaced most of the published veteran authors and intellectuals for a bunch of entertainers and shock jocks?
Because, and again, I'm going to beat the dead horse a little more, because 95+% of men don't give a damn about anything except women. And so that's what you're going to get from that. There's still the 5% that's still consuming content from the OG guys, and I still hear from people all the time, but most men out there there's that expression that most red pill guys are one blowjob away from being blue pill, and it's true. I
even hear new guys
that 95%. You can sell them bullshit in a can, and it'll sell just fine as long as it doesn't interrupt the idea of getting laid.
Why is it always the tradcons or so-called high-value men who represent the men's movement? Why is the average man never given a seat at the table when they are the ones who are the most affected by all of this?
I would challenge the premise of that. Tradcons don't represent anything except clickbait. They're not a movement. There is, churches are dying. People are leaving in droves, and often for good reason. Their values are becoming archaic, and we recognize them a lot as just plain self-destructive, suicidal values. In a lot of ways, it's just a setup to ruin your life. They're not a movement, and they're not representing much of anybody other than themselves. They make interesting content in far as let's get some feminists in here and throw insults at each other for 30 minutes, and let's get a couple of prostitutes and
coochie
and do the same thing. That's not a movement. That's entertainment, and it shouldn't be confused with a movement or with activism.
Following up on that point, why is it that a men's advocacy movement, Red Pill, has to be entertaining to gain support, but a woman's advocacy movement, feminism, didn't?
Well, I think it's the gender dynamics. at play here. You'll never have a movement. I don't believe this. I'll go to my grave at least believing that you will never have a movement society-wide that has a huge impact that's like MGTOW. It's just not going to happen because Western men.
All right. Look at that. He said exactly what New said. Right there in a nutshell. And I agree too, because it really wouldn't be attached to anything, but it will be the actual movement that MRAs really wanted, but it was more aggressive. You know, the MRAs really wasn't as aggressive, especially the first wave. You know what I'm saying? MRAs really wasn't aggressive. They were kind of nicely asking for their children back. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't going after the women aggressively. They were like, hey, we got rights too. And they learned the hard way that the law don't give a damn about men's rights. They don't give a shit about men's rights. Not like we do. You know. Please support me the way that I support you. They don't give a fuck about men's rights. Show me one of the new cats right now that's having a talk to y'all about some goddamn men's rights. And they get all the support by repeating us. They don't give two shits about men's rights. What the fuck is a man's right to them?
Live in a desperation mindset all the time, thinking they're incomplete without a woman, and that whatever woman they get, they think, could I have done a little better? Could I have found somebody a little more attractive, a little hotter? That's their mentality. And these are still guys that want families and would like successful marriages, but their values for creating families and successful marriages undermine them every step of the way. And the tradcons are the worst about reinforcing that thinking.
Do you think it could be because we have more empathy for women than we do for men?
Yeah, sure. We always have.
The empathy gap, obviously, yes. Why has the men's movement become all about money and fame and entertainment? Doesn't this differentiate between the legitimate men's movement?
Because they took on something that they normally didn't take on. Even the pickup artists have took on something that they normally didn't take on. Guys like Andrew Tate, I'm going to tell y'all the real story. Guys like Andrew Tate, them niggas was bait. Guys like Andrew Tate back in the real pickup artist days wouldn't stand a chance. It didn't even matter if he knew how to fight. Pickup artists would prey on guys like Andrew Tate. For the woman, there would be a gap. He'd be fighting all these niggas and be still wondering why his bitch run off with the skinny nigga. Neil Strauss would be like hot lava on the Andrew Tates. You know, pickup artists didn't really give a damn about flashy cars and all that other stuff. You know, they'd make those guys look like idiots. Crazily enough. But hey.
And the imposters.
Yeah, it's become that because there's money in it. Clickbait is a income revenue. I mean, it's a revenue generator, and you generate more clicks with conflict, without thoughtful discussion, without really analyzing what's going on in the lives of men. It's why you have all these tradcons out there that cut off half the material They will not talk about gynocentrism in any meaningful way or any of the things that really impact the lives of men. It's just, here's what a man is, now go do that. And if you get destroyed in the process, you probably did something wrong. And I would say, yeah, they followed your advice.
And that's the thing. A lot of these women can make stupid money off the guys in this space and be safe and don't even really have to talk about no real male issue. So they got their own slice. They can literally do what the hell they want to and be safe. It just became another source of income for them. Please hit the like button, y'all, and please support the show. I've never heard as much women ask for you guys to hit the like button and support the show as much as I do. And this is crazy. Shout out to everybody here, man. Shout out to the people that do support the show. I rocks with y'all. Please rock with me on today's show, supporting the show. I want to do some more shows this week. And yeah, I want to take a day off, but I end up working, so we are in the red. All right. It's Player Talk Radio. Shout outs to everybody here. Please hit the like button and support the show, y'all. Let's get it.
That's what they did wrong.
I think it's also why we see a lot of this blood sport debating and just posturing, things like that. Red Pill says the world is gynocentric. Feminists say the world is androcentric. Is there some way to come to a consensus and restore balance?
No, the world is gynocentric.
Where are men overburdened and where are women disadvantaged?
Some of the guys will hate this too. Where are men overburdened? Where they choose to be. One of the things that I see that I don't like, and this is a really important point, is that feminism runs on a lack of accountability. I'm a victim in everything. That will never work for men. We live by our choices in life. And I think that if we want to talk about some sort of idea of true masculinity, that is found in that, in the accountability. Every guy that ended up in a bad marriage, he did it with a woman he chose to be with and they chose to breed with. He made decisions about dating and how to form relationships. And the last thing men need is a movement telling them that they're not responsible for that.
Gender-specific obligations on both sides.
Well, because women want gender-specific privilege and men want to give women what they want. So that puts a little roadblock in that idea.
And finally, where would you like to see the men's movement in 5 years? Where do you think things are headed?
This is going to be a selfish answer. In 5 years, I would like to still be alive, still free, still in a stable home with none of this garbage.
Right.
I would like that for as many men as possible. But I have to say, in coming from my old man perspective here, that I'm not hopeful for getting there with a lot of men. I'm very hopeful that a small percentage of men who can embrace the idea that they actually are worth something, that they actually do have needs and wants in life that are more important than pleasing women, those guys, I think, can be living the dream. They absolutely can. They can be more or less immune from the problems. Don't get legally married. That stuff is just out the window. That small percentage, that's why I keep working at this. That small percentage of guys can win in the end. Most guys, not going to happen. They're going to end up being the guys that come to me after 20 years of marriage. They haven't even talked to their wives in 5 years, much less had sex. They're living lives of quiet desperation, and they have no idea how they got there.
Well, Paul, it was truly an honor to meet you. I'm eternally grateful for this opportunity, and you're a huge source of inspiration in my work, and you inspire many other people. And I would just like to ask, is there any final thoughts you'd like to say? Or?
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm a big fan of yours. I love the cogent, pointed questions to the public, watching them fumble for answers because you're asking the right question. It's not only entertaining, it's worthy. It's teaching us about the way most people think. So I'm a big fan of that. So all I have to say to add to this is I hope you keep doing what you're doing, because I appreciate it a great deal.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Paul.
Man, wasn't that interesting? I believe so. All right, y'all hit the like button. Please support the show. We're an hour and 26 minutes into the show. I want to keep the show going at least past the 2-hour mark. If you guys are enjoying the show, hit the Cash App, hit the PayPal. Okay. This is absolutely not free content. All right, let's get into this real quick. It's player talk. Nobody's playing this for y'all. Half the stuff I play, nobody's playing this for y'all. Please support the show, y'all.
Hold up this infrastructure, though.
No, they don't.
80% of teachers are women. 40% of doctors are women. Women are literally holding up the healthcare infrastructure. 80% of healthcare workers are women.
And that's a problem. We need to put them back in the kitchen so they can give us some healthcare or good sandwiches.
Women contribute to society. DNA double helix.
Okay,
Rosalind Franklin.
can someone fact check that reason?
A woman that discovered it. It was a woman that discovered radium. It's a woman that invented laser eye surgery.
Every time I go on a campus, it never fails. Like some black chick comes up and says women invented XYZ and it never happened. It's actually James Watson and Francis Crick that invented it.
She's the one who created the X-ray images, and they stole her work. And it is proven.
There's a man
you can
here,
look for it.
as usual.
They received the credit for it.
All right. Hi.
Hello. You said that women deserve less, but there are countries where women already have less. So wouldn't it make more sense to live in an area that has, in the countries that support the ideals that you have towards women? In Iran and Iraq, women aren't allowed to go to school. They get married early. They have their babies early. Like, why wouldn't you choose to live somewhere like Iraq and Iran?
Women can go to school in Iran, and they actually are.
Yeah, but it's limited.
They can definitely go to school, and they're actually quite well represented in the job force there. But so you're asking me, why should women deserve less in foreign countries?
Why prefer to live in a more traditionalist society in those types of countries that support your ideals?
Because when women are in charge, everything gets fucked up.
Women aren't in charge in those countries, though.
No, I'm talking about here in the U.S.
Women aren't in charge in the U.S.
They absolutely are. We live in a gynocentric social order.
I don't agree with that. And you said that you're against feminism, but all feminism did was give women the right to own property, bodily autonomy, and gave them more less discrimination in the workforce and access to education without being discriminated against. What's wrong with that?
Here's the thing. Feminism started out as equality, but now it's quickly morphed into superiority. That's what it is now. It's not, the equality thing was done decades ago.
Are you talking about like Western modern feminism, or are you talking about feminism in general?
Well, I'm talking about Western feminism. Now it's about superiority. It's no longer about equality.
It is about equality.
Okay, if you say so.
How is women having access to bodily autonomy superiority?
Sure. Because let's say you were to get pregnant by a guy He want to keep the baby. You want to kill the baby. He has no reproductive rights in that say whatsoever.
But in states like Texas, the man can sue the woman if she aborts the fetus.
Sure.
He can sue her.
But the point
and put her in prison and report it.
Yeah, I don't know about that. The reality is that men have no reproductive rights versus women do. And then it could also go on the flip side. She decides to have the kid. He said, don't have the kid. Now he's on the hook for child support. So that's what I'm trying to say.
He can give up his parental rights.
What was that?
The man could give up his parental rights so he doesn't have to pay child support.
Not really. She
Legally,
she can absolutely still put him on the hook and have him pay what he's owed. And some states have like really, like Texas, for example, has very aggressive laws where if you're a deadbeat dad, like they will put you in jail. They will.
And also, you said that women should prioritize career over having women should prioritize childbearing over having career, but women
having a family. Yeah.
They contribute $7 to $10 trillion to the U.S. GDP, and that have higher gender equality, like the United States and the West in general. They have higher GDPs than other countries that deprioritize gender equality, like Yemen, like Iraq, like Syria, that have lower rates of gender equality. They have lower GDPs.
Yeah, well, women also
and higher rates of poverty.
Yeah, and they also control 3/4 of the debt. They're the majority of the consumers. Women complain all the time about, we couldn't have credit cards until the 70s. Well, that was because women couldn't incur debt. So men had to incur the debt. And if she did get credit, she'd have to go through her husband. So because the man was responsible for the household and the finances. So he had the authority, but he had the responsibility, but he also had the authority. So that's why
a woman have to have her father or her husband have over her finances? If a woman's in debt, she's on.
I mean, I think the data shows most women are in crazy debt and are the majority of the consumers and control most of the debt in America. A lot of them are financially retarded.
Also, you said that women are intellectually inferior. If that's the case, how come women are pursuing the majority of higher learning?
Okay. Most men are geniuses. And then as far as higher learning goes, the standard education system that we have prioritizes being a slave, sitting still, folding your hands, listening to someone, following directions. These are all things that women, are better at men at, because women are followers and they tend to be more compliant. They tend to be more agreeable than men. So the education system that we have is catered towards little girls succeeding versus little boys.
So wouldn't it make more sense to change the structure of a classroom so men can thrive instead of saying that women are intellectually inferior?
Well, they're trying to do that. But again, men are responsible for most of the infrastructure and inventions built all across the world, despite the fact that women have overrepresentation in universities. Men still, produce most of the infrastructure.
And also with the infrastructure, you said that the majority of jobs that women have aren't as important to the economy, but 80% of healthcare workers in the United States are women. 40% of doctors are women. Like 70% of practitioners, healthcare practitioners.
You know what's worse than like the male number crunchers? Y'all already know what I'm about to say. The female number crunchers. Because women use numbers the same way as they use words. They just throw them out there. They don't give a fuck about them. Then the sad part is that they try to use numbers, but then they really don't know what the numbers really mean. It's sad.
Are women. 88% of nurses that keep people alive are women, and there's men in the hospitals that are nurses too, and they're working hard and keeping people alive. So to just write off an entire gender as being not as important, don't you think there's a bias in that?
Well, men are better than women at almost everything, and we're supposed to be leaders. So, I don't make the rules, I just report them.
And also,
feminism has been a colossal failure. Cool, we got female representation in the workplace, but what have we paid as the cost for that? We have destroyed families. The nuclear family's pretty much gone. The backbone of the United States is gone. We have more whores. We have less marriages.
The reason that there's more divorce is because women have the ability to have a divorce. Back in the 50s, women weren't allowed to leave a relationship or a marriage.
Yeah, and that's a problem. So now women are incentivized. Women are incentivized to divorce now.
Be in a marriage a problem. The
birth control, no fault divorce, all of these different things have contributed greatly to the declination of the new.
Keish gonna give it to you. She gonna give it to you. Keish gonna give it to you.
Nuclear family.
For the no-fault divorce, it's pretty much saying that you can't use cheating or whatever as a reason to declare a divorce. So a man or woman could use no-fault divorce as well. So what's wrong with that?
Yeah, but that's the majority of divorces, almost 80% are initiated by women.
And
it's not men breaking up with women or initiating the divorces. It's the women that do it.
For the Institute of like Family Studies, they found out that infidelity on the man's part is the highest reason for women initiating divorce. So
it
what's wrong
varies.
with that?
It's really money and
economic issues.
It's really money. And here's the other thing too.
Lack of labor.
Hot take. I think men should be able to cheat. Yeah.
So why?
Let me rephrase. It's not even about cheating. I think men should be able to have multiple partners if they so choose. Okay. And the reason for that is because men have to earn their merits. Men have to earn the ability to have those kind of women.
And women earn their merit as well. Do you think
No,
it's
they don't
easy
earn
to
anything.
sit in college for 4 years and then go to college again for another 4 years?
Okay,
to
your
get
education,
graduate
education and
studies?
your background makes no difference in your sexual market value. If you go out on a date with a dude, he's not going to sit there and be like, "Oh, what's your degree? Oh, you graduated? Awesome. My dick is hard." Like that's never happened. Like men don't get to earn income.
Actually, you also
And that's crazy to say that on a college campus, but it's real as fuck.
also said that men need to be more present fathers. It's actually my father that encouraged me to pursue a higher education. It said
He's
that would
supposed
make me
to.
more desirable if I ever took.
Your dad
were
told
to
you
go
getting
out. Yes, he
education would
did.
make you more desirable?
Yes, he
Supposed
did.
to tell you
Oh man,
that.
he was lying to you, man.
He wasn't.
He's supposed to tell you that. What else he wants you to do? He wants you to sit around the neighborhood and get pregnant by Pookie and Ray Ray? He's supposed to tell you that. I'd lie like shit to my daughter and tell her that shit. He's supposed to tell you that. He gives a fuck.
He was lying to you.
One last thing, Myron, you're saying that
Education does not make women more attractive at all.
that
That's a
men
big
need
feminist
to,
lie.
Men need to get money and get ripped, and then they'll get a woman. How come you aren't
Come on,
married if you
JR.
have this humongous platform and you have all this money? How come you can't maintain a stable and
I got you covered, man.
healthy monogamous relationship, or even a polyamorous relationship? How come everyone you date ends up leaving you?
Okay, let me ask you this question. Are you fucking guys?
No,
You're not. Why not?
because I don't feel like it.
You don't feel like it.
You don't
Would it
feel
be fair to say that you're picky and you're selective on who you have sex with?
Isn't everyone selective?
No.
It's a
not for men,
personal
but-
preference.
No, that's fine. So it's your personal preference who you have sex with, right?
Sure.
Okay. Wouldn't it be fair to say that women are the gatekeepers to sex?
No. Because
are.
you, someone can physically overpower you and have sex anyways.
Okay.
How are you
I mean,
gonna
outside of the outside of the
truth.
exception, which is rape, I'm talking about like in a consensual encounter, women control access to sex.
What
sex,
if a
fair?
woman desires a man more? Wouldn't that man be the gatekeeper then? It depends on the dynamic. You're saying in
is this
general,
talking
in
about?
general terms.
In most situations, who is the gatekeeper to sex?
This is why he said that men should be able to cheat. I don't feel like it. Okay, shit.
Depends on the most desirable person in the dynamic.
Okay. Since you refuse to answer, that's fine. In general, women are the gatekeepers to sex. Okay, guys are trying to smash. Women are trying to, get some type of commitment and resources. So we have different opposing things. So that's why I asked you, like, hey, are you fucking people right now? You said no, and I said why? Because you're selective. Fantastic.
What's going on, Cope Approach? Y'all, please hit the like button on the way in. I'm trying to keep the show going past the 2-hour mark. We're already at 1 hour and 39 minutes. Please support the show by hitting the Cash App, by hitting the PayPal. Every little bit helps. Please support the show. It's Player Talk.
Just like you're selective of who you have sex with, I am selective on who I engage with and have a relationship with. Because I give commitment as a man, you give sexual access as a woman. So for you to try to shame me for not being married is like me trying to shame you for not having sex. It's literally asinine because
can't gatekeep
you control
commitment.
access to sex.
Women
So
can't
therefore,
keep commitment either. They can't
I'm
choose
sorry?
to not be in a relationship.
what was that?
You're saying that women can't gatekeep commitment either.
No, they can't because men are the ones that give out the rings and you take our last names for a reason.
One last thing, Myron. You said something about
and so-
how we need to live in a society.
And I want to make
that
this
women
clear for everybody here
prioritize-
because, hold on real quick, because I want to make this clear for all the guys here. See, this is a typical tactic that women employ. Well, they'll be like, oh, well, where's your wife or whatever? Our metric of success isn't getting married. Our metric of success is having a bunch of money, being successful, and lots of women wanting to marry us. Us having options is our success. Your success is locking down the best guy that you can. You guys gatekeep sex, we gatekeep relationships. So for you to sit there and be like, oh, well, where's your wife? That's a false equivalency. It's not analogous whatsoever. What was that?
My success is educational attainment.
And that is why you're brainwashed. You're brainwashed by the Beyonce. You're brainwashed by the propaganda.
I mean, you have no choice. You're in school and you're in debt. Attainment. You've attained so much debt just being in school. It's crazy. Let's go.
Propaganda that tells you that your career matters and your education matters and your income. It doesn't matter at all.
Well, there are places like Turkey, like Tunisia, that prioritize your ideals. I just feel like if equality is so bad, why don't you live in places that are more traditionalist? That's my last question.
Again, I'm just calling it like it is. I'm just reporting how women are now and sexual interdynamics and awareing the guys on this topic. So, and again, like someone like you, exactly what I'm here to do, to combat this right here, this very pernicious feminist lifestyle where it's like my education, my career comes first, and that's fine. But when you're done with school and you're done, pursuing your career, you're not going to have the same level of options.
Because you're saying that women deserve less. Women get paid 81 cents on a dollar, so women are already getting less.
Oh my
What's the problem?
Interesting. So
the majority of people in the government are men.
Okay.
The senators are men. This is a male-dominated society.
Thank
it was
God
created by men, but it's already male-dominated. So
okay,
what are you arguing?
Let me ask you a question. So are you saying that the wage gap exists between men and women?
Yes, it does exist. It's been, studied by economic forums all over the place.
Okay, so the wage gap is a myth, and I'll explain why. What you're referring to, the 80 cents on every dollar that feminists typically try to use to just say that there's a wage gap or a disparity between how much women are being paid versus men, that comes from a study of all working men versus all working women. And the problem with that is you're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing apples to oranges. Because this study didn't account for hours worked, types of careers, danger of career, experience, the lack of female, the fact that women are more agreeable, they're less likely to argue for higher wages, education, all these, overtime, taking vacation, all of these different factors heavily contribute into how much money you make. Now, if you actually equalize everything and compare apples to apples, they did this at Google, you find that women actually earn more than men. So the real reason why women earn less than men is because you guys deserve less than men. You guys are lazier. You guys tend to take more vacation time. You guys don't go into job fields that are more dangerous, that pay higher. Women don't like doing laborious jobs. They want to sit in in an air-conditioned room somewhere a lot of the times. So the reason why women earn less is because they deserve less in most instances.
So by that logic, would men not deserve to have access to higher education because they're just not as smart? They won't sit down. They won't respond well to teachers. They don't work well with the curriculums promoted in K through 12 education. They're not scoring as high on these SAT and standardized scores. Wouldn't that technically mean they have less merit to pursue?
Technically, Lord have mercy.
To higher education, if we were to use that same logic and that they should just pursue the trades like the majority of the men in Gen Z are already doing.
So you're actually strengthening my argument. Why is it that women earn less, right, allegedly to you, even though they're overrepresented in college university attendance, they're overrepresented in graduating, and they're overrepresented in academia in general? The reason why is because female choice. Women just choose to go and do jobs that tend to not pay as much. Women don't like to work as many hours. They don't like to work laborious jobs. Men are far more likely to take on jobs that are dangerous, blue-collar work. They're more willing to go ahead and go to a trade school maybe to earn an income. Women are far less likely to do that. So there's a multitude of different factors why women earn less, and it's all, completely plausible and explainable.
But women still hold up this infrastructure, though.
No, they don't.
80% of teachers are women.
Okay.
88% of nurses are women. 40% of doctors are women. Women are literally holding up the healthcare infrastructure. 80% of healthcare workers are women. And what's wrong with that?
And that's a problem. We need to put them back in the kitchen.
How's that a problem?
So they can, give us some healthcare or good sandwiches.
Women contribute to society. It was a woman that discovered the DNA double helix.
What was that you said? Women discovered what?
It was a woman that discovered the DNA double helix. She's the first one.
Okay, can someone fact check that? Because, for some odd reason,
Watson and Clark, they purported her results.
This is like the fifth time now.
She's the one that discovered it. It's it's proven.
Okay.
She just wasn't credited for it. They are the ones who received the Nobel Peace Prize.
For some odd reason.
It was a woman that discovered it. It was a woman that discovered radium. It's a woman that invented laser eye surgery. And Watson and Clark were working with Rosalind Franklin. So yes, she did help discover the DNA double helix.
Every time, bro. Every time. Yeah, so every time I go on a campus, it never fails. Like some black chick comes up and says women invented XYZ and it never happened. So it's actually James Watson and Francis Crick that invented it.
She's the one who created the X-ray images and they stole her work. And it is proven.
There's a man
you can
here,
look for it.
as usual.
They received the credit for it, but
It's like campus, like some chick.
anyone in the biology class
A woman
would have
invented
learned
something
that.
and they didn't.
A woman invented laser eye surgery, and that is
look
a
that up
fact.
too, laser eye
Mary
surgery.
Curie.
So you're wrong on
also
that one, then we'll
received
find
a
the next
Nobel
one.
A Nobel
It's like a
Peace
theme,
Prize
dude.
For
Every single
discovering
time.
radium. What did you discover?
Curie.
You know,
Misogyny. Oh wait, that already existed.
well, massage is actually good, but
She said Madam. She actually brought up Madam Curie. You know. Madam Curie.
yeah, actually, it's a man again. Golam Payman invented LASIK. Dude, it's hilarious. Every time I go on a college campus, it's always some black chick comes up and says, "We invented this," and I'm like, "No, you didn't actually, Shaniqua."
Well, your logic doesn't work in real life. Have a nice day, though, Myron. Seek God.
Well, I knew that she was gonna chimp out at some point. It's just a matter of
He said, "Seek God."
time.
Oh man. Well, shout outs to Myron. I mean, he's not getting the Charlie Kirk treatment, Shout outs to everybody here. Please, you guys are enjoying the show. If you guys value Player Talk Radio, please help us keep it going by supporting the show via Cash App, via PayPal. We are almost on the second hour. I mean, we could sit here and talk about Anton and all that other goofy shit, but fuck it. Let's get to some more game. Shout outs to Peace World. I always give y'all some high quality content creators, and hopefully I put y'all onto some content creators.
Looked up every statistic on abortion. Did you look up the amount of men that don't take care of their kids?
Children.
Did you look up that since they're children? What about did you have those statistics? How many children in foster care are?
I don't know the statistics.
Oh, that's the answer. That's the only answer I wanted.
But
that's the only answer I wanted.
I don't care. Let her go. Win an argument.
Wait, no.
You ain't about to win no damn argument.
Fine, right. Being aborted a year, but you give about kids so much. How many kids are in foster care systems right now that have been molested, raped, killed? How many? I care about children.
Say something?
Let him go.
Ace, can I goddamn say something?
All right, 30 seconds.
Shit. This amazing.
Goofy broads everywhere, y'all.
Amazing. And she went. Okay, what up?
You're amazing, but fuck you. You got right.
Look at Mr. Let Ho. Ho. You know what?
Yeah, I believe
Shut the fuck.
Because it's fucked up that y'all let this asshole have a bigger voice than me in this damn space.
That's so stupid.
Hold on.
Since you looked up.
I find it very weird and disingenuous for the people who are so adamant and so passionate about abortion, but don't care about
The main ones doing it. You don't need to be talking to men about that shit. You need to be talking to women about that.
kids after they're born. That I can't understand that concept and what's actually going through their brains. It must be some religious reason why they care so much about abortion, but also shouldn't that care and
Said don't talk about Mr. Let Ho like that.
compassion carry to the kids after they're born? It never does. It never ever does. And as someone who's worked in care firsthand, it's dark. It's so bad. Every single child in care would rather live at home in their crazy situation. Every single child I've encountered, they would rather live at home in their crazy situation. There are a lot of children who run back home I'm gonna drag back into the care system. Foster homes or the other one. And when it comes to abortion, when it comes to not existing, I always have these discussions and people can't fathom them not existing. And I'm like, okay, let's play a game. Were you born in 1800? What about 1801? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? What about 1900? Did you exist? 1900, 2, 3, 4, you didn't exist. You've only existed for like 30, 40, however old you are. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, a million years of you not existing, but you can't fathom not existing? Just look at history, you weren't there. It's not that deep.
A lot of these girls didn't even exist in the 80s, much less the 90s. Real talk.
And guess what? Not existing is a better fate than being great at 7 years old. Yeah, it really is. Being abused physically your whole life, you're going to, until you go to school one day and it's so bad that they have to put you into care home. One of the saddest days in my life working in care. And it makes me emotional now even thinking about it. This older man was on his deathbed. Must have been in his 70s. Lived in a care home his entire life. His parents abandoned him as a child. He was disabled. His parents just left him somewhere and he's been in a care home ever since. Bedridden his entire life. And as he's saying his last words,
who cares?
At this point, I'm 21, 22 years old. I know his life story. I know how everything. I already have my questions about it. It sent me into such a dark place. To have to live your whole life bedridden. No love, because you're not allowed to love your patients as a carer. So you never experience love. You have to be fed, changed, cleaned your entire life. And then you just die. No family, no nothing. And I remember being there, and it was the first time I had to take a break. I had to go outside. I had to go outside and just cry because it was so depressing as I'm contemplating his entire existence. And there will be people that will really look at you dead in the eye and say, no, at least he was alive though. Kick rocks, man. Honestly, kick rocks. Not being alive ain't that bad. Because you're not alive. And we've only been alive for how long we've been alive. Were you upset in 1800? No, you weren't upset because you weren't born.
Could care less.
These kids who are being aborted, their parents don't want them. They literally don't want them. A lot of them are messed up in their real life. But you want to force people to have those kids because you don't really care about the kids. You don't care about the kids. You don't care what happens after they're born. But I've seen it. I've seen what happens. You care about kids in general, and you care about kids being aborted, and you care about what happens after. You just have a care for children, and you want, no problem. But this one-sidedness, I just can't respect it, man. I can't respect it. In this case, they're doing it to make black women look bad because black women have a lot of abortions. Oftentimes because of political, whatever the case is, but they don't actually care.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, nobody's ever finna make me feel bad for wanting a nigga that spend that shit, okay? It's a difference between having a nigga that got money and having a nigga that spend that shit. I need a shark, okay? Somebody that overly spends that shit. Never tells me no. I don't even tell myself no. So you think you finna come over here and tell me no? It's not happening. The fuck? I need an overly loaded spender. Send me your biggest.
What world do you live in? Like, what fucking world do you live in?
Spender. Need that. And y'all are never gonna make me feel bad for wanting a nigga that spends that shit. I feel like I'm very deserving. I work very hard. I take care of all my own shit already. So if you gonna come around, you for sure gonna be spending something. You gotta make my life easier, okay? And if I'm not struggling by myself, I'm for damn sure not gonna be struggling with your ass. I can't do shit with a little nigga. I can't do shit with a broke nigga. I need a spender, a shark, preferably, okay? I'm tired of fucking around with Nemo and them. I can't, I literally, I cannot.
Why do you fuck around with Nemo and them? Asking for that? She not used to that. She never had that. Why the hell does somebody gotta come out the woodworks and bless her with that?
I have no more tolerance in me for anybody. All that, oh, you gotta wait till Friday. I don't even make myself wait till Friday. What the fuck are we even talking about? I need it now. Thank ya. And come fucked already too, because we ain't doing.
So after seeing this video, I was like, it took me back to a video that I already seen. I know some of you don't like academics, so I've cut the video to where this woman is talking. Now her name, let me make sure I get her name correct. Her name, Aisha Diaz. She's a night lady.
Talk about some come fuck.
She belongs to the streets. Okay, she's one of those. She works in a lady of the night. We just heard.
Shit. I need to be blessed, you know? Everybody here, I ain't blessing shit. Imagine being a bona fide hoe talking about you ain't gonna go. Horrible. This is where we at, man. You a bona fide hoe talking about somehow you ain't gonna go. Get the fuck out of here.
How she's talking. Let's hear how the lady of the night speaks. And then we're gonna compare, because this is a normal woman versus a lady of the night. Surely.
Shout out to everybody in the building. Almost 2 hours into the show. Please bless the show. It's Player Talk Radio. Let's get it. Let's go.
It should just be inherently different, and they should have inherently different values. Right?
I don't know what your relationship status is now, but what are you expecting on a monthly basis from financially?
From him?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm spoiled.
No, as soon as they said it's sports, it'll be a ticket. Go ahead.
What's that mean? Just
what's that range?
Because it's good insight. Because we just have these hypothetical conversations all the time. But just somebody you're like in the top 1% of girls that's actually you're exposed to that life, right? Like so. Yeah. What is you say you're spoiled? What does that mean?
Spoiled means.
I'm glad women like this can look.
I need you to be able to keep up with my lifestyle.
What she's saying.
If you want to be with me.
I'm so glad women like this, just depending on what she's saying, that most men now, a lot of men have come to the point, if you have your faculties in order, I'm glad that a woman like this, she's just a couple sentences away from looking ugly. Like she the queen of Persia or some shit.
What does that mean?
Ladies, take notes. Take notes, because it'll work on the simp. I have a lifestyle I expect to keep.
Myself, you should be able to do it for me too. And if I can't depend on you to be able to handle
and then it's funny because when there was a such concept of dimes, she could say this confidently. Now actual bona fide dimes sound dumb as fuck saying this shit because they ruined being a dime for actual bona fide dimes. How the hell does that work? What show are you talking about, party? Let's go.
I have on my plate. Then there's no reason for me and me and you to be together, because that means you're gonna hold me back.
Even Tyler sounds stupid saying if you love her to put her in Chanel. You've been rich for this long and nobody put you in Chanel?
And I mean, I'm gonna have to be looking out after you.
What about love?
What does that mean? Financially, what does that mean, though? What does that mean?
You see, women like that. There ain't no love. I mean, niggas say, what about love? Yeah, all right.
What does that mean on a monthly? What's that mean? Roughly.
Numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like 45, 50.
$50,000 a month. So you need $50,000 a month.
What is true? I can give you the paperwork right now.
No,
Listen.
no, I'm not saying that you're not getting it. But hold on, you got a contract?
Listen.
You signed contract? They signed contracts?
But listen, if you allow me, let's say my partner doesn't allow me to work, I am gonna look at you and say, are you paying all my bills? Because in order for me to say,
Goofy women can get
I kind of want to
nowadays.
Google what work she does.
The dime.
But
don't
I
get
think
that
probably
these
for
days.
TOS I shouldn't, right?
sit down, somebody have to pay all my bills. And not just my
She is bad though. I ain't gonna lie to you. She bad.
You know what is crazy? If dimes never made it in the internet, there will be unicorns. There will be real life Fox 5 unicorns. At this point, if you're a dime participating in the internet looking for obvious attention, you're losing.
But I'm gonna be honest with you.
and that's honestly, that's what really becomes expensive because my bills alone are already really high. Ask me not to work if you're not willing to handle and take care of all my bills.
Yo, I like her. I didn't know she knew how to talk this well. But I gotta translate the bullshit she's saying. Whatever job she has is probably a bartender, a stripper, or selling pussy straight up.
Dimes are idiots nowadays. They're on discount. This is the best time to get a dime. Even they know they full of shit.
On OnlyFans, like selling pussy pictures or something. She's telling you for me not to be a whore, you need to make sure I don't work. Like, she's not working at no fucking Fortune 500 company. I like how she makes it sound good. Right. Hey, if you don't want me to work, like she's walking into a fucking law firm. Bruh, if you don't want your...
Yeah, I need gatekeeping to be back in. Fuck it. Fuck it. All right, we're a little bit over the 2-hour mark, y'all. Let's keep the show going. Please support the show. Let's get it. I got some more stuff to show y'all.
Bitch, like you walk into the fucking kitchen or the fucking bathroom and your bitch is up there like this, fucking taking a fucking video of her snatch for a nigga on OnlyFans. If you don't want that nigga, you better. That's what she's saying. She's not talking about no prestigious job, bro. Like what? Yo, like come on, bro.
And this is to listen to my podcast. A lot of you guys are not listening. You're only hearing the number, but you're really not listening. And like I said on the podcast, what we find normal, the nighttime girls, might not be.
She old.
Okay, Aisha Diaz, I apologize. She's clarified. She's talking about the strippers, the sex workers, the pussy sellers, the bartenders. What she's saying is completely normal for them. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. Yes.
It's normal for who? The strippers though.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, nobody's ever finna make me feel bad for wanting a nigga that spend that shit, okay? It's a difference between having a nigga that got money and having a nigga that spend that shit. I need a...
This woman look like she's one chromosome away from Down syndrome. Let's go.
Shark, okay? Somebody that overly spends that shit. Never tells me no.
For us, it's regular seeing $60,000. It is a regular thing. Now for you, might be $2,000, $5,000, or maybe you see that type of money in a year. Listen, the tax bracket that I'm on, it's not for everybody. My bills, not everybody has those bills. And I know people, girls actually, that have...
Sounds so similar.
So if you're gonna come around, you for sure gonna be spending something. You gotta make my life easier, okay? And if I'm not struggling by myself, I'm for damn sure not gonna be struggling with your ass. I can't do shit with a little nigga. I can't do shit with a broke nigga. I need a spender.
Bigger bills than me. So if their man required them to sit down, I think that it's only fair to get double. What am I gonna do if you pay my bills and my bills only? Where's my emergency money? What if something happens to you? Okay, regardless of the number, if it's 50, 20, 10.
Bro, imagine getting threatened by a woman with your own mentality, with your own mortality. Talking about some. Imagine if something happened to you. Something happened to you is because she did it.
$500. If you want your girl to stop working, you need to give her double her bills, because emergency happens.
Double her bill.
You guys want to get up and leave us with nothing. And guess what? Those bills still stand.
The internet is. Only the internet sits around and listens to people, man. Let's go.
And they're still waiting on us. And here we are, jobless, haven't worked in years or months, and we have to start from scratch. So there's nothing wrong for a woman to want a safety net. And the safety net should be double what your bills are.
A shark, preferably, okay? I'm tired of fucking around with Nemo in them. I can't, I literally... I cannot. I have no more tolerance in me for anybody. All that, oh, you gotta wait till Friday. I don't even make myself wait till Friday. What the fuck are we even talking about? I need it now. Thank you. And come fucked already, too.
In reality, a lot of these women are what they are. And
goofy.
It's up to... She's come online and she's exposed what she is. So as far as I'm concerned, men who deal with her and women like this, it's your fault now. It's your fault. Or maybe you're just a simp and that's what you like to do. No problem. Everybody has their own vices. You like to trick. It is what it is. But there's no way you can, like... And it's not even like these women aren't avoidable. They're so easily avoidable.
Thin people are statistically more likely to die from being underweight than someone is from being overweight.
Oh my God. Okay.
This is like top 5 dumbest shit I've ever heard. We should all be mirroring the exasperated sigh by the girl at the end.
There's like so many things, like health things that I discovered that are non-related to fat, but we try to just lose a little bit.
Whenever you have someone trying to cope this hard about their problem instead of just admitting that they have a problem, there's a huge red flag here, and this needs therapy, not even medication.
I think the BMI scale, if you don't already know, is set up to be fat phobic and racist.
I don't need to say much about this one.
Oh
Again, the cope is incredible. Yeah.
Whoa. How did the race get into this? What does she mean by that?
Because black women are fat.
The BMI scale is racist? What the hell?
Body mass index, yo.
Isn't that scale just numbers? When did it get conscious to?
I think the denial is bizarre. I sat here and I hear like 4 women who are medically obese tell doctors who are scientists and they study arteries, they study organs, and you're being defiant to a doctor, a scientist. I know. Which is gonna be exasperated.
And it's crazy because she tried to win this black woman over by saying race too. And this black woman sat up there and called her medically obese
by the bigger body, right? It might be. No, it is. Like
every condition.
That's not true. How is it not true? Your doctor will tell you that it exasperates her.
Fall over dead.
I already know what the leading cause of death is in America, but I'm just gonna confirm it. What's the leading cause of death?
High blood pressure
in America. The leading cause of death in America is heart disease.
Oh yeah, that too.
It's probably because the average person is like 180.
Damn.
Yeah. The idea that she really sat there with a straight face and said there's more people that die because they're underweight than overweight. With a straight face. Even if you're someone who's fat and you're happy being fat, there are a lot of people like, they don't care. It is what it is. Like, they live their life, they enjoy their life. No problem. It's the straight denial is what is very confusing. It must be some sort of mental health that we just don't know about, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Was direct enough.
So this next video is a bit different. I want to get you guys' thoughts and opinions on this. Apparently this woman, she transitioned to a boy when she was younger, and she's detransitioning now, and she's having a lot of like side effects and stuff, and I guess she's upset, she's blaming someone. Yeah, let's see what she has to say.
I was a teenager.
Don't blame
I
your
was
parents.
a teenager. Okay,
They
first
gave you
of
what
all,
you wanted.
I'm sorry if I'm crying and I look like a mess. I've literally been recovering from surgery for like 2 months. I hate crying on camera because I think I sound so stupid, but I
There
just
could have been
can't
all kinds of
help
names
it.
that she didn't give you what you want.
Last year
Now,
I found a cyst on my
Now-
thigh. I had a dream that God told me that I would be losing both of my legs. Not literally, and then that's when I found it. And it was my injection site. I recognized my injection site because I was injecting testosterone for 3 years. I'm not stupid. And I knew exactly where because I would always pick the squishiest part of my leg so that the needles would hurt less. I would grab my fat and then pick the soft squishy. That's what I called it because I was a teenager. I couldn't walk for like 2 months. I couldn't get my surgery for like another 2, and it was infected, and the infection didn't go.
yeah, I mean, listen, I told y'all there's gonna be so many gay people that's mad at their parents because they gave them what they wanted. Let's say if she didn't get all of this shit, or the parents would be all kinds of homophobic and evil people. Now you gotta detransition. Like, y'all be trying to be women so bad. And jealous of women of the years that's like actually the most fucked up years to be a woman. You ain't going through no fucking puberty. And that's what the shit is for anyway. To scare you during your pubescent years. Especially making that choice before you go through puberty. Hormones all fucked up. Now look. I don't even know what it was. Was it a man or a girl? Yeah, that's a part of being a parent, saving them from themselves. I forgot what he said, and I don't care at this point, if it was a man or a girl. All right. Shout outs to everybody in the building. Please utilize the links in the chat. I can't stress this anymore. Please hit the like button. Please support the show via PayPal, via Cash App. I'm counting on you guys. I definitely want to do more shows this week. I got you guys. It's Player Talk Radio. Let's get it.
Away. Apparently, I have had it all along since my needle. Doctor said that the needles cause scar. That's why the cyst was very, very deep, because only a needle can get that deep.
Because you're doing shit you shouldn't be doing. Let's go. And I know the dad didn't want to do this, and now look.
And recovering from surgery has been so hard. Trying to sit, trying to walk. I was literally trapped the year. And this is not the hardest surgery I've had related to detransitioner at all. I have 3 scars on my stomach from surgery.
Right,
I was
way more.
hospitalized for 2 weeks. It's not the worst. But today I woke up and I found one on my other leg. Same spot where I used to inject. And it's weird because the pain It feels very similar. I think you only understand this if you take testosterone, but like after you inject your needles, it feels sore. And because you're injecting it so often, there's like this specific ache to it. And your thighs feel raw when you sit down. That's what it feels like, weirdly, but it feels worse. I just think it's odd that the pain feels very similar. Like just sitting here right now with the new cyst, it's very reminiscent of what it would feel like. And I guess like maybe that should have been my red flag back then. You know, there were several times where I would inject and blood would spurt out, or when I was sitting at my school desk and I just remember my thighs being in pain.
Now imagine losing your child because because of child endangerment, because you're not protecting your child from themselves. Imagine that.
Is it weird for me to ask, why the hell would you inject in the same place over and over? And is that like a crazy question? Because what the hell? I get it, you were a kid, so you're a bit dumb, but why would you inject in the same place over and over? It literally doesn't make any sense. I don't know, maybe I'm tripping.
And I'm assuming because I found it, it must be infected. I mean, that's what they told me. I had it this whole time.
Yourself wrong.
The reason I noticed it was because it just got infected. I don't know how. It's just so frustrating, and it makes me so angry that even when you stop testosterone, even when you stop this, there's no going back. You're gonna be dealing with health issues for the rest of your life. I woke up sobbing and wailing. I want to go through another surgery. I don't want to.
Like you would, just as much as they read about the people that got the goofy ass surgery to become a male or a woman, wouldn't you read up on the people that had to detransition? Like how do I know a couple of people that had to detransit? There's enough people out here that had to detransition for you to make this dumbass decision. There's enough people out here that had to detransition before you made this move. And you just didn't think to, hey, let me go sit down with one of them. Let me do a little bit of research. I don't even think straight men cut off their Johnson to get a damn strap on. Pause. Anyway, well, I guess one just did.
Do this again. And I shouldn't have to. If you told me at 17, if you sat there and told me every...
You didn't want to be told. Especially your dad. Your dad would be all kinds of fuck niggas if he told you.
Single issue, every single surgery that I would have because of a stupid injection that doesn't even work because I cannot become a man, I would have said no. I would have said no, and I would have had a different life. But you robbed me of that choice. You lied to me.
Now, she got what she wanted. Frank Ocean. And then now she can't feel nothing. Superhuman. She a mutant now. You a mutant, baby girl. You're a victim. You are a mutant. You got what you wanted. Now somebody robbed you. You can't make this shit up. She got what she wanted. Now she's robbed. Okay.
You told me that I would die, that I would off myself. You threatened my family.
Oh, you on the way there. You're a couple of steps there. You don't even hear yourself. I mean, I don't expect you to hear yourself because it's like you didn't hear yourself before neither. But let's go.
Like my mom just keeps saying, I would tell you not to take it. But what the fuck are you supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah, you didn't listen to your mama. You've been warned and you didn't listen. Big whoop.
Threatening me as a child to take me out of my home. That I would be my parents. That if I didn't take this one day, one magical day, I would want to off myself. And I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear whining about, why take it out on the community? You know what? I don't think detransitioners are angry enough. I think with everything we endure, we're not.
She just wanted to collect all the gay titles like it's Pokemon. Look, it's still in her. She still haven't learned her lesson, or him. I don't know what it is, but I know it didn't learn its lesson.
Full enough. Anybody would want to see that shit burn to the ground. If you were sold into a fad, into the biggest medical scandal in human history. I mean, think about it. It's a lie.
It's a medical scandal. Because whatever you tried to turn into, you realize it's not as fun. You can't make this shit up. Only American kids are this fucking spoiled.
Hey, it's a lie. You can't switch sexes. You can't switch genders. You can't. That's like telling a child they will die if they don't take this medicine that will make them fly and grow them wings. No.
You're 17 though. Look, I get it legally. You know, you're a child, but you're 1 year away from being an adult. It's a fine line from being a child, right, and being naive and whatever the case is, and then just being an adult and making a dumb decision. Just a year difference. I don't know, man. Normally I'd be, you know, if you're 12, 13, I'd have all the leeway in the world, but you were 17. I don't know how much you can blame anyone else other than yourself. You know, a lot of 17-year-olds that do crime and do murder and stuff, they get tried like adults, especially if they're black. But yeah, I don't know how to feel about this one.
Oh, you shouldn't be mean to each other. I don't encourage being divisive, but I just don't think detransitioners are angry enough. I don't think we as a society are angry enough. I mean, I literally just got threatened that some guy was gonna come shoot me in the face. But it's just never enough. It's just never enough. It never slows down. Things never get better. I guess the whistleblower curse is real. I mean, I'm so grateful at the $2 million lawsuit that just happened that caused many places to ban transition for minors or anybody below 19. But still, sadly, I don't think it will be enough until more detransitioners come forward, and I am seeing it increase day by day.
I think instead of blaming society and blaming whatever the case is, you should blame your parents because they were weak.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's the thing. I've had this discussion before. I'm pretty sure, you know, we've all had it at one point if you're a man anyway. If my child was trans, cool, but you're not doing nothing until you're 18. I don't care if you crash out. I don't care about nothing. I'm not even the same person I was when I was 22 years old, let alone 14, 13. If you do something permanent, and in 5-6 years you regret it, who are you gonna look at? It's me. I'm the one in charge. I'm the parent. I would rather you hold it against me that I didn't think permanent than I allowed you to do something permanent in your life. I gave you puberty blockers, whatever the case is. Because at the end of the day, you're still a child. You're nowhere near being who you're actually going to be. That's where the age comes into play, because let's be for real. They waited a year. You were probably always gonna be this person. So it's kind of on you. To that, it's kind of on you. It's just a year. In that year's time, were you gonna realize that you weren't, actually, how old is she now? She don't look 18. Were you gonna realize that you weren't trans? And you probably would have done it anyway if they said wait until 18. So, yeah. Let me know you guys' thoughts and opinions in the comments.
Man. But imagine that. Imagine that. You give your kid what the hell they want. They would have called you all kinds of shit. And that's what they do. Gen Zs, man. Well, I guess, I don't know. I guess they would be Generation Alpha. I don't know.
You know what's strange about people born in the 1990s? They remember a world that doesn't exist anymore. They played outside until the streetlights came on, but also remember their first name. They used encyclopedias for school projects, but also downloaded music on Napster. They're the last generation who had a childhood without smartphones, but came of age with social media. And that split? That created a psychology researchers are calling 90s kids syndrome. If you were born between 1990 and 1999, you occupy a space in history that will never be repeated. You're not quite a millennial. You're definitely not Gen Z. You're the bridge between two incompatible worlds, Cartoon Network and YouTube, Blockbuster and Netflix, playing outside and playing online. And here's what knows you. That split childhood created who are simultaneously nostalgic for simplicity and fluent in complexity. And it's affecting your mental health in ways you probably don't even recognize. Picture this. It's 1998. You're 8 years old. Saturday morning means waking up early for cartoons. Scooby-Doo, Rugrats, DuckTales. You pour yourself a bowl of sugary cereal and sit cross-legged on the floor in front of the TV. No tablets, no streaming services, no on-demand anything. If you missed it, you missed it. And somehow, that made it matter more. After cartoons, you head outside. Not because your parents told you to, because that's what kids did. You played hide and seek until dusk. You climbed trees. You rode bikes through the neighborhood without helmets or supervision. Scraped knees and muddy clothes weren't emergencies. They were badges of honor, proving you'd actually lived that day. According to research on 90s childhood, kids spent an average of 3 to 4 hours outside daily. Today, less than 30 minutes. A 2023 WHO study found that over 80% of today's adolescents don't meet recommended physical activity levels. But you were the last generation that experienced unstructured outdoor play as the default, not the exception. You didn't need fancy toys. A stick became a sword. An empty lot became a battlefield. Your backyard transformed into whatever your imagination needed it to be. And because you couldn't Google what to do when bored, you developed something rare. Creativity born from emptiness. The ability to generate fun from nothing. But here's where it gets complicated. You didn't just grow up analog. You lived through the transition. You remember VHS tapes and rewinding them before returning to Blockbuster. But you also remember when DVDs felt like magic. You used dial-up internet where a single web page took 5 minutes to load. But by high school, you had broadband. You typed school papers on actual typewriters in elementary school. By middle school, you were using Word documents. According to
I don't know about by high school you had broadband. Broadband took a minute. Maybe if you had like some very expensive cable like DirecTV or some shit. Even DirecTV didn't have no goddamn broadband. You had to be super privileged if you had broadband.
Researchers, 90s babies experienced a unique blend of traditional education and the beginning of tech-based learning. You spent hours in libraries using card catalogs and encyclopedias, but you were also the first generation to use computers in school regularly. You're bilingual in a way no generation before or after will ever be. Analog native, digital fluent. And social media? You remember life before it. You had actual privacy. When you did something embarrassing, only the people there knew about it. No phones filming, no viral videos, no permanent digital record of your worst moments. One 90s baby put it perfectly. We all talked crazy amounts.
We had all the digital records of our moments. At one point, it wasn't like that, but internet longer than any generation. I mean, I guess you could say Gen X, but millennials took to the internet quicker and more intuitively than Gen X, you know.
Amounts of shit about each other and did shockingly inappropriate things, but we never had to worry about it ending up where everyone could see it. You got to figure out who you were in private. That's a luxury that will never exist again. But then MySpace launched when you were a teenager. Facebook opened to everyone when you were in high school or college. Instagram appeared as you entered adulthood. You learned to curate yourself, to perform your life for an audience, to seek validation through likes and comments. And that shift, it split your psychology in half. Here's what researchers noticed. 90s babies experience unusually intense nostalgia. They call it 90s kids syndrome. And it's not just sentimentality, it's neurological. According to studies on psychological essentialism, people tend to believe their personal experiences are more authentic than others. And 90s babies? They lived through a fundamental shift. They witnessed the death of one world and the birth of another. So when they look back, they're not just remembering their childhood. They're mourning an entire way of life that disappeared. The rosy retrospection bias explains why you idealize the past. Your brain filters out the mundane and distressing parts and preserves the emotional highs. It's not that the 90s were perfect. You just remember them that way. Because what you're actually missing isn't the decade, it's the feeling. Being fully present without constant comparison. Living without performing. Existing without documenting. One researcher described 90s kids perfectly. They are the living testimony endorsing the fall of antiquity and the rise of modernity. You're the only generation that can compare both worlds accurately. You know what was gained. You also know what was lost. Here's the part that's harder to talk about. A study from the University of California, analyzing over 27,500 adults, found something devastating. People born in the 90s have worse mental health than any previous generation. Depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders are significantly higher among 90s babies compared to those born in the 80s, and these disorders get progressively worse with age. The researchers concluded that technology and social media use are primary factors, but it's more than that. You were raised with one set of values. Emotions and sentiments controlled us, as one researcher put it. Then, forced to adapt to a world where devices dominate everything. You learned that friendships were built through shared experiences. Then you watched social media turn connection into performance. You developed self-worth through actual accomplishments. Then you entered a world where value is measured in followers and likes. That cognitive dissonance creates psychological strain. You're not depressed because you're weak. You're exhausted.
I mean, it hit the guys, but I think it hit the women way worse. I can say it hit the women way worse.
Because you're living in two incompatible realities simultaneously. But here's what 90s babies have that other generations don't. Perspective. You know what life was like without constant connectivity. So you can put your phone at dinner, take tech-free vacations, sleep without checking devices, because you remember what presence actually feels like. You value authenticity over performance because you developed identity before audiences existed. You understand patience because you waited for things, for songs to download, for photos to develop, for your favorite show to air at its scheduled time. You learned delayed gratification wasn't just acceptable, it was normal. You have what researchers call a balanced childhood that straddled the line between analog and digital worlds. You climbed trees and coded websites. You played tag and played video games.
I don't know about coded websites, but we did code MySpace, though.
You read books and browsed the early internet. That balance is rare, and today, 90s babies are in their mid-20s, mid-30s. You're contributing to society in significant ways. You bring traditional values and technological fluency. You translate between generations at work. You bridge your boomer parents and your Gen Alpha kids. You're the mediators, the explainers, the ones who remember both before and after. Here's what nobody tells you about being a 90s baby. You'll spend your life caught between nostalgia and adaptation. You'll watch younger generations grow up completely digital and feel both envious and relieved they'll never know what they're missing. You'll hear older generations romanticize the good old days and think, I actually remember those days. They weren't that simple. You're not better than other generations. You're different, shaped by timing, being born at the exact moment when the old world was ending and the new one was beginning. You carry both. You belong fully to neither. And maybe that's not weakness. Maybe that's wisdom. You see what younger generations lost. You understand what older generations can't grasp.
No, they never had it, so they didn't lose it. They never had it. All right.
You hold both truths without needing to pick a side. The world
Yeah, they
changed
still have
while
it.
you were growing up. And instead of
That
breaking
glitter
you,
shit.
it
Oh, they
made you
love-
adaptable, resilient, aware. Not confused about who you are. You're just the only generation that remembers both worlds clear them honestly. If this felt personal, if you've been carrying this nostalgia and didn't know why, you're not alone. This channel explores the psychology of people caught between worlds. Subscribe to understand the patterns shaping who you are. And if you're a 90s baby, drop your birth year in the comments. Let's see how many of us are out quietly bridging two worlds nobody else remembers existed simultaneously. Because you're not nostalgic for the 90s. You're nostalgic for the feeling of being fully present. And maybe, just maybe, you
Yeah,
can find
I
that feeling
that.
again.
Right. Right.
There's something
They think they think everything is in them broad.
you notice about people born between 19 and 1993. They're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. They apologize when they ask for what they need. They work harder than anyone.
Hold on, y'all.
Way that sleep doesn't fix. They apologize when they ask for what they need. They work harder than anyone around them but still feel like they're failing. And when you ask how they're doing, they laugh and say, just pushing through, like that's supposed to be normal. If you were born in those 7 years, you didn't just enter adulthood at the wrong time. You became an adult during the exact moment.
Now, these are, I guess you could say, core millennials. This is what I would be. But a lot of these, they call these, well, not necessarily. If you're born in 87, you're still a zennial with an X. But let's go.
When every promise your parents made fell apart. You did everything they told you to do, got good grades, went to college, took out loans because education is an investment. And when you graduated, the world greeted you with closed doors and entry-level positions that required 5 years of experience. That timing didn't just hurt your bank account, it rewired your psychology. Because core millennials didn't just experience economic hardship, they internalized it. The recession didn't happen to them, it happened inside them. And 20 years later, you're still carrying it. That weight in your chest that won't lift. That voice in your head that says you're never doing enough. That bone-deep exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much sleep you got. They call you the burnout generation, the just push through it generation, the generation that can't afford therapy but desperately needs it. And they're not wrong. Let's go back, not to your first job or your college graduation, further, to when you were 8 years old, sitting at the dinner table in 1995 or 1998. Your parents were there, physically, but they were exhausted, both working, both stressed, both stretched so thin trying to keep everything together that there wasn't much left over for you. You weren't latchkey kids like Gen X. Your parents wanted to be more present than their parents were. So they were home, but they were also checking.
Believe it or not, a lot of millennials were latchkey kids too. They just wasn't generationally called that. A lot of millennials, they spent a good amount of time alone. They were sedated by technology, so it didn't really kick in, and they were outside also. But they wouldn't call themselves that because half half the time they were sedated by technology, and then the other half they did go outside. They went outside the whole time and stayed outside the whole time. They probably, I wouldn't say they wouldn't call themselves latchkey kids, but they would call themselves something close, you know. But let's go.
Work emails, thinking about deadlines,
And a lot of them had other siblings to raise too, you know.
worrying about money. What you got was presence without attention. You learned to be low maintenance, to not need too much, to handle your own problems because mom and dad were already handling enough. You became the good kid, the responsible one, the child who didn't cause problems because you could feel the stress radiating off your parents and you didn't want to add to it. 40% of core millennials describe their parents as emotionally unavailable. Not cruel, not neglectful, just not there. And when your parents aren't emotionally available, you learn that your feelings aren't important, that needing help is burdensome, that asking for support is selfish. So you stopped asking. You figured it out yourself, and that became your default setting. Self-reliance that looks like strength but feels like drowning. Then came the messaging, from parents, teachers, guidance counselors, everyone singing the same song. You're special. You can be anything. Just go to college, get a degree, any degree. It doesn't matter what you study as long as you get that piece of paper. Take out loans if you have to. It's an investment in your future. You'll make more over your lifetime with a degree. Everyone knows that.
I think that's
So you-
we watched a lot of TV and then we went outside, or we went outside and came home and watched TV. Remember, we were inundated with music videos, the box sports, not Sports Center, but like what's it called? I forgot what that school center thing on BET was called. Shout outs to A. Marie though. She hosted it for a while. I really loved A. Marie, y'all. To this day. To this day. But give me 1 second, y'all. Please hit the like button. Please support the show. Please hit the Cash App. Please hit the PayPal. Almost going on 3 hours. Please utilize the links in the chat. Let's go.
You did it. You picked a school, signed loan paperwork you barely understood because you were 18 and every adult in your life said this was the path.
Yeah, to the
You
street
worked
lights.
part-time jobs, pulled all-nighters, graduated
By then, your folks was home making dinner or doing whatever, you know.
with honor, entered a job market that had been destroyed. The class of 2000 graduated into hell. Unemployment at 10%. Companies that weren't hiring.
Class of 07 here. This is true.
Positions that paid $30,000 a year, requiring a bachelor's degree and 3 years of experience. You sent out hundreds of applications. Most never got responses. The ones that did offered unpaid internships. For experience, they said, to get your foot in the door. You couldn't afford rent on unpaid experience, but you also couldn't get hired without it. So you moved back in with your parents, worked retail or food service, applied to real jobs at night, told yourself this was temporary, that any day now it would get better. It didn't. Not for years. The ones who graduated into the recession earned 20% less than they would have if they'd entered a healthy economy. That gap doesn't close. It follows you for decades. Less starting salary means smaller raises, fewer promotions, less savings, less security. Everything compounds. But the psychological damage cuts deeper than the financial hit. Burnout isn't just being tired. Exhaustion means you reach your limit and stop. Burnout means reaching your limit and keeping going anyway. For days, weeks, years. You wake up already exhausted. Not because you didn't sleep, because you never actually rest. Your brain won't turn off. You lie in bed at 2 a.m. thinking about deadlines, bills, emails you haven't answered, things you forgot to do, ways you've disappointed people, problems you need to solve. At work, you push harder than everyone around you. You say yes to extra projects. You stay late. You work weekends, not because you love your job, because you're terrified of being laid off, of being replaced, of losing the stability you fought so hard to build. You know how fragile everything is. You watched it all collapse once. You can't let it happen again. So you grind, you hustle, you optimize, you side hustle. You never stop moving because stopping feels like failure, and failure feels like death. 77% of core millennials report workplace burnout. Nearly half have quit jobs for mental health reasons they couldn't explain to.
I'm burnt out right now, giving y'all an extra hour of some good content. Please hit the like button and hit the links in the chat, y'all. All right, let's go.
Employers. Because how do you say, I'm falling apart, when everyone expects you to just push through it? You learn that pushing through is that complaining is weak, that if you're struggling, you're not trying hard enough. So you keep pushing, through panic attacks, through insomnia, through depression you won't acknowledge, because you don't have time to be depressed, and you definitely can't afford the therapy that might help.
Right.
Here's what broke something permanent. You did everything right, and it still went wrong.
Right.
You followed every rule, respected authority, believed adults when they said work hard and life works out. You took their advice, made their recommended choices, and got punished for it. Student loans that will follow you until you're 50. Jobs that pay less than your parents made at your age. Housing costs triple what they were a generation ago. You'll never own a home, never retire, never have...
I'm gonna tell you the truth, and I've said it so many times. What should have fell on Generation X absolutely caved in and fell on millennials. That experiment, that horrible experiment that went wrong, that should have fell on Generation X, it absolutely fell on millennials. Let's go.
The security your parents told you was waiting if you just did what you were supposed to do. And when you point this out, when you say the system is broken, older generations call you entitled, lazy, complainers. They say you just need to work harder, stop buying avocado toast, figure it. Except they didn't have $40,000 in student debt at 22. They didn't graduate into a recession. They bought houses on single incomes. They got jobs without needing years of experience first. They lived in a completely different economic reality, and they're giving you advice like the rules didn't change. That cognitive dissonance is maddening. You feel like you're going crazy, like maybe you are the problem. Maybe you're not working hard enough. Maybe everyone else has it figured out, and you're the only one drowning.
And they say that to dupe more productivity out of you. All right?
You're not. 75% of core millennials say they'll never achieve financial security their parents had. Half don't believe they'll ever retire. This isn't individual failure. It's systemic collapse standing on one generation's shoulders. There's a feeling core millennials carry that nobody talks about. It sits in your chest like a stone, heavier some days than others, but never gone. You're angry, deeply, quietly furious. Angry that you did everything they told you and it wasn't enough. Angry that you're working 3 times as hard for half the reward. Angry that you can't afford a house, can't have kids, can't take time off, can't rest, stop, can't breathe. But you can't express that anger because it makes you sound ungrateful, privileged, like you don't appreciate what you have. So you swallow it, you smile, you say you're fine, you keep pushing through, and that suppressed rage turns inward.
But you know the future ain't no future.
Comes anxiety, depression, insomnia, physical pain you can't explain, illnesses that doctors can't diagnose, your body keeping score of everything your mind won't acknowledge. If you're a core millennial reading this, here's what you need to hear. You're not lazy, you're not entitled, you're not failing. You're surviving a rigged game while people who wrote the rules tell you to try harder. The exhaustion you feel isn't personal weakness. It's a rational response to impossible circumstances. The anxiety isn't a character flaw. It's your nervous system reacting to legitimate threat. The depression isn't a choice. It's what happens when you push through too long with no relief in sight. You've been just pushing through it since you were 22, for over a decade. Maybe it's time to stop acting like that's sustainable, like that's noble, like that's just what adults do. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. And you've been ignoring it for so long, you forgot what it feels like to not be constantly overwhelmed. You deserved better than what you got. You deserved the stability you were promised, the security you earned, the future you worked for. None of this was your fault, and you're allowed to be angry about it. You're allowed to grieve what you lost. You're allowed to admit you're not okay. If this landed, if you felt seen by this in a way that made your chest tight, you're not alone. This channel is for people carrying weights nobody else can see. Subscribe to keep exploring what makes us who we are. And if you're a core millennial...
News tired of the AI voice narration. I am too. Alright, so we are 10 minutes away from 3 hours. I gave y'all an extra 50 minutes to hit the like button for us to have at least one supporter. More than 20-something people that came in and came out. Alright. Listen. Shout outs to everybody here. Make sure you support the show on air, off air. I wanted to get into this debate between Stacey Prince and Cooley. And I wanted to get into AC going in on Ari Lennox and what she said, which y'all probably already heard by now. But I'm exhausted, you know. I guess y'all ain't rocking with the show today. So I appreciate everybody here for hitting the like button. Please support the show on air, off air. You support Player Talk Radio because you care. I want to keep the show going but we're not getting the support we need, man. So I appreciate you guys for rocking with the show. It's Player Talk Radio. See you guys in a couple of hours. Peace. We'll try it again.